Okay, question about project 2. So project 2 asks you to implement 3 different types of replacement policy. So in the code, I provide a version of pseudo LRU, which is a counter based. You can modify it to a tree. And then you can also implement the other 2 types of replacement policy. And if you still have a time, you can try to implement a prefetcher to further improve the heat rate. So this figure shows the L1 heat rate. So it's not generated by the trace I provided to you. So do not try to run the traces and then see the heat rate. So here is just one example to show you what's the possible result for your project. So for example, the LRU may achieve the best heat rate, while the other 3 types may not be able to achieve the same accuracy heat rate. But again, this is a very workload dependent. ASAR is a normal LRU can achieve the best result, but LBM is not the best example because the LRU can only achieve a very low heat rate. So here is just some examples. You need to run your own traces, but the overall trend should be similar to the ASAR. And I believe there is a benchmark has no heat rate in L3 and L2. And you can also try that. I provide the how to install the code block compiler and how to download the code, how to compile it, how to run the application in the slides 2. You can check yourself. In the code, I believe the most important function is the replacement. It's the replace function. Now the replace function is used to implement the LRU. Least recently used. And I would like to explain how does it work again here. So you can see that we provide a counter named RELPL, a counter to each set. assume your cache has a full set from 0 to 3. And each set has a counter named RETR. We use these three functions named find, update, and replace to maintain the cache replacement policy. The find function can help you to actually find the set which has your data. For example, your data is hit in the set one. In the last line of this function, we reset the counter to 0. For all the other counters, we do a plus plus. For example, this is 1, this is 1, this is 1. This is the first request. Read 0. It hit in the L1. I'm sorry, it hit in the set 1. So the set 1 counter is 0, and all the other counters are 1s. If we have the second request, R1, it hit in the set 0, then all the other counters do a plus plus. And the set 2's counter is reset to 0. For example, if we have R3, the following read, it hit in the set 3. So we reset this counter to 0. We do a plus plus here. We do a plus plus here, and then plus 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 here. So we just keep doing this. After the cache is full, we need to evict something out so that we can move the new, write the new data to that set. Which one do we, choose to evict? We can do the eviction by the counter. Who has the largest value? The set has the largest value means it has no hit recently. For example, the set 0, you can see that R0, R1, R3 are hit into the set 1, set 2, and set 3. So that's the reason why these counter values are very small, but this one is larger. Then during the eviction, we can choose this set. We just in the replace function, I'm sorry. So in the replace function, we just pick up that set and do the replace and evict the content here out of the cache and write the data into this set. So any question? Any question about project 2, you can ask me now. Yes.
So the difference with all three, right? NMRU, random, and the how is the grade distribution done? One worth way more than the other two, or are they all equally worth? Like
yes, they should be equally important.
We certainly use policy Same as the not most recently used policy, disconnect two-way associated with that.
No, I will explain that. This is a very good question. So in this replacement, we just try to find the maximum value of this counter, like this one. We get this one as the set. We can evict this data and write the new data into that set. So how to implement a random? You don't need to do the comparison anymore. You just randomly generate a number. The number has to be in the range from 0 to this associated integer. You just randomly pick up a value and do the eviction. That's all. You just need to write one line to modify this replacement policy. About the not most recently used action. So again, back to this counter. This is the least recently used function, least recently used set, because it has the largest value. And of course, who has the smallest value is the most recently used. Now, what's the concept of not most recently used? You can pick up any values here. So the least recently used replacement policy is a special case for the not most recently used policy. And I recommend that you can generate another random number to choose anyone between these three. So you just keep this 0. Okay, who has the minimum value? Means it has a 0. Find the minimum value, not necessarily 0, maybe 1. You just keep this one and generate a number to select one, pick up one from these three. Or you can always select this, select the second minimum value. That's totally depend on your design option. And that's the reason why I want you guys to present your design. You can choose anyone from these three. A random number works, always select this second minimum or the third minimum also works. So for the random replacement policy, you just need to add one line here. For the not mostly recently used, like here you just find the maximum value here for the least recently used. For the not mostly recently used, you just find the minimum value. And then keep the minimum value. Evict from the other sets. I don't think this is difficult. If you can understand this code, you can finish this one in 5 minutes.
Set, so like hash set, I don't know. Does that represent like one set going down?
No, you always have 4 sets.
Okay.
4 sets has 4 counters. Each row here indicates a request. What will happen if we have the first request? What will happen if we have the second request? So this table here is equivalent to this update function. when you have the first request, for example, the request 0, you just give every set plus plus. So you can see that everyone here add 1. This one add 1 too. But since this R0 hit in the set 1, in the last line, we just reset this the counter to 0. So this one will be 0. Then the first request is done. And then we have the second request. With R1, again, we also do a plus plus on their counters. So you can see that every one's counter increases by 1. This one also increases by 1. But since the R1 hit in this set, in the last line, we need to reset it to 0. So we just keep doing this. This is what you do in the update function. And then in the replace function, you just pick up the counter who has the largest value and then do the replace. This is the least recently used replacement.
The number zero, 1, 2. Which one are the least used one? The number.
The least recently used one is the, you can see that in the update function, what we do, we just plus plus, do a plus plus. And then if you get a hit, we reset your counter to 0. So who has the largest value? We haven't accessed that set for a very long time, right? Because we always do the plus plus on that set. This is the least recently used, right? We haven't accessed that set for a very, very long time, so that it has a very large value in the counter. Who has the small value? For example, 0, 1. Means we indicate that we just access that in maybe pure cycle. I would like to continue to explain your questions. So for the direct method, if we have this R0, it has one address named address 0. We do a mode operation. Assume that we have 8 frames here. One frame means we have one line. One line can accept one request. So totally in this cache, we can store 8 requests or 8 lines because we have 8 frames. Then so when you try to access this cache, you do a mode operation. And then you can get the which frame your data is in. This is totally depend on your address. Assume your address is 1, then after this mode operation, you will go to the second frame. Frame 1 means the second frame. We have a frame 0, frame 1. So in this case, if you find out frame 1 has your data should be stored in frame 1, but you find out after you check the tag, it's not your data. You will do the replacement. You will evict the old line and write your new line into that frame. And in this case, you don't need any replacement policy. You just tag. After you find out they are not the same, you just evict and write the new data. So that's simple for the direct map cache. But the set associative cache is another story. The set associative cache is the combination between the direct map cache and the fully associated cache. So at the set level, you need to decide. You go to which set. So for the direct map cache, if you have 8 frames, then you have 8 sets, okay? And then you just do mode, check whether they are the same or not. For the fully associated cache, it's just 1 set, means your data can be in any frame. You just need to check them all. So only in fully associated cache, you have so-called least recently used concept or not mostly recently used concept, because your data can be in any of these frames. So the set associative cache just combine these two. First, you need to decide where is your data in this set associative cache. How can you do that? You also do a mode operation, just like this one. Because this is a two-way set associative. And it also have free 8 frames, but it has 2 ways. So each totally it has 4 sets. In that set associative set associative cache uses mode 3, and then decide the position of your data. So in this, in one set, you have 2 options, 2 frames, and you can maintain the least recently used, or not mostly recently used, or random policy in one set. That's how we do the control to maintain such information. So in the project 2, you just need to focus on these 3 functions. The first one is find. The second one is update. And the last one is replace. Particularly, I believe if you only want to implement a 3 replacement policy, the last 2 are the most important. If you want to implement the prefetcher, then you need to modify the find function. Otherwise, I don't think you need to, change the code in that function. Any question? Any question about homework, about exam, you can also ask me now. Otherwise, you can input your top information on that page in Canvas. And then from the next class, we can do the presentation. You can explain the details, how you implement these replacement policy. Yes. Yes, of course. Next class, I will. Yes.
Would there be any extra credit opportunity?
Yes, we have some extra credit. Here, you can implement a prefetcher. So besides the extra credit, I think you should submit your homework. Even if it's a late homework, you can also you can still submit the homework.
Question about the 22 foundation. I want to consider that using for the project two, the code.
The project, the code, now the code has the pseudo least recently used policy. The most complicated and complex one. So you just need to implement 2 simpler ones.
You want us to submit
That's also that's both works. Both work.
You said that pseudo LRU is already implemented.
Yes. Yes.
Oh.
Yes. 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 Again, the pseudo RRU is a counter based. You can also try to implement this tree based. Also, I can give you extra credit on that.
The pseudo LRU is already there, but the true base isn't.
No, the tree base is not in the code, but the pseudo RRU, the counter based, has been implemented in the code already. No, it's not a. And the tree based RRU is a bonus. So if you do not want to have any extra credit, you can just implement these 2 and generate a similar result like this.
It's a long story.
If you have any other question, you can stay here and ask me. Otherwise, you just can stop. Okay. Thank you. Yes.
Make sure my results look reasonable, and if they do, then I'm like, okay, I did it right. So, here I have sort of the, well, here, actually just do it here because I have labels on these, like the average hit rates for each level. And then, like, does that look reasonable?
Yes.
Because it's strange because like
Why?
all of these sort of have like, you know, it's like 90 whatever, and then they're the same, but then the PLU, I did a tree based PLU, and I had like a slope, so I wasn't sure if that's kind of right. I have
L1 should always have the highest heat rate.
right.
And then it's very difficult to heat in L3.
Okay. Because I have like, it's just like, I don't know, I wasn't sure if I was doing it right.
Yes, I believe that. Right.
Okay. And then yeah, it was like I had the Leslie benchmark did have I got requests per level. I did have some requests in L2 and L3 for my tree-based PLU. That's okay.
Yes, yes.
Okay, cool. All right, then I think I got it.
I didn't find any problem in it.
You say that's okay then?
That's good, very good.
Okay, awesome. And then what I did, I don't know if you need me to like make a note of this, but the way that
I believe I can understand the code very well.
okay.
I can understand your table. You just copy and paste them into the PowerPoint and then present.
Okay, yeah, I do have my code like in
Yes,
slide, so that's okay.
That's good.
Okay, cool.
You have a lot of result and also paste the result in the slide and present.
Okay, yeah, I mean, I can just like attach this spreadsheet as well.
Yes, yes.
Because I think it's like a lot of information to put in a PowerPoint slide, but I
Okay,
can attach it.
no problem.
Thank you.
Yeah, so it's confusing. Basically.
I know, we had, I didn't make sure you forgot, because it's been a minute. And I'm listening. So.
Right, yeah, so I.
I gotta get it.